Well, welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome to my home, not the yurt, but in my office, my mismatch of magical things. Welcome. So, why are you here? Well, let me tell you, actually, it all starts with this. It started with an event that I was at, and there was a group of people chatting, and there was a young man there, and someone asked this person what they were doing the next day. Simple, right? And this person responded in such a prideful way. I don't know how to describe it. And he just said, I am going to church. And the way he said it just it rubbed me the wrong way. It did. And honestly, it takes a lot to rub me the wrong way, but that one, oh, it was like nails on a chalkboard. And I teased back. I said, well, I hope they tell her story tomorrow. And the look that he gave me, it was so dismissive. And I just, yeah, it lit something within me. And it reminded me of how often a woman's voice is pushed out and how long we've been told that our stories don't belong. And in that moment, I heard this voice, and she said, voice right here. And she said, well, what are you going to do about it? And yeah, what are you going to do about it? And this temple of remembering, this offering is my answer to that question. And it's a response to my fire. So there you are. And that's why we're here. So for years, yeah, I've been gathering with wild sisters in my yurt for years, following the seasons. And we gather monthly. And when I started this offering, my temple of remembering, so we've already gathered a few times, 4 times now, and I tried doing it live via Zoom, but each time, each gathering, something went wrong always, which is funny. I've held Zoom recordings for years and never had problems, but they're usually in my home. So every time we did it in the yurt, there was a problem. So it's just as if the yurt and she isn't a being of herself, and she just didn't want to be recorded. And she's always been a sacred and private space. So I've decided I'm going to record it here in this way for you as an offering. So that's why we're here in my house. Um, yeah, so this is just a way to share these teachings that kept whispering to me, and here we are. So I don't know where this will lead us, and I don't know what shape it will eventually take, but I'm showing up, I'm following the call and giving it room to unfold. And yeah, and before we go any further, I just want to say this. I am not a biblical scholar. I am not here to debate scripture or of anything of that sort. I'm here to remember her the best that we can and honor her and the stories that were lost, buried, forgotten, burned, intentionally removed, and stories and share stories that we've carried in our bones, even without knowing it. This is a space for remembering individually and together, a remembering that lives deep inside of you, a remembering that has waited lifetimes to rise. And with this, your inner temple awakens. So actually, this might be a good place to pause and gather anything that helps you settle into this journey, a journal for your reflections, an oracle card deck to draw from, and perhaps your favorite warm tea, a warm drink to hold within your hands and ground yourself even more. So yeah, take your time, pause, and when you're ready, we'll begin this journey together. So why my temple? When the name came to me, it wasn't about ownership. It wasn't about creating something that belonged only to me. It was a whisper from something deeper, a reminder that the sacred lives within each of us. And while this offering is called my temple, many of our sisters now, the ones I've gathered with me for years, they have affectionately named the temple the yurt. So not a church, but a place they're going to yurt and I just love it. So that's taken off. So if you hear me say yurt, it's because of that. So it just doesn't matter. It's a place for us, our spirits to gather, where our stories met and where sacred is woven itself into our lives. And those two names now hold hands together. So my temple speaks to the inner return, the temple within you, and the yurt speaks to the physical space that has held us, shaped us, and witnessed our becoming. So this temple, inner and outer, is yours. So when you say, I'm going to my temple, you are naming a return to your voice, um, a return to your body's wisdom, the divine feminine, in whatever shape or whatever form she appears. And this space is not led by one story or one voice, it is shaped by many, a weaving of lived experience, ancient memory, and soul whispers we share in sacred company. No hierarchy, no dogma, just a beautiful, messy, magical truth of being human and holy at the same time. And this is a space where she is remembered, where her voice is heard, and where he may one day be welcomed in circle, but only when she has spoken fully, and only when the space feels ready. So we will be told. But here in the temple, through these teachings, stories, and recordings, the divine masculine is still very welcomed. Men who come with curiosity, reverence, and a willingness to listen from this mind are invited to be part of this remembering too. Okay, so for the masculine is waking as well. It truly is. And healing happens for all of us. It's important. And when the feminine voice rises, the masculine listens with an open heart. And that's just how it is. That's the magic. So as we open this temple, we are going to begin with her voice, Mary Magdalene. And before we begin, let's just take a moment to arrive together. So I invite you, and if you feel called to, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. It's up to you, whatever you feel called to. And let's take a deep breath in. If you feel called to, you can place your hand to your heart and maybe one to your belly, somewhere that feels like home in your body. And I invite you now to speak your name out loud, quietly or softly, whisper it. And whisper your name to yourself if that feels more comfortable. And I want you to say your name, your voice, use your voice, as it is part of the weaving. And your presence matters here. And when you're ready, take a moment to silently name, what am I bringing with me today? What am I bringing with me today? It might be an emotion, a desire, a curiosity, or simply breath. Let that word settle into your body as we gently call in the elements together, not to cast as a circle, but to remember the temple within. So let's begin with the breath. So begin with your body. So, and begin with the inner temple. To the east, breath of dawn. And as you inhale, imagine a soft wind stirring around you. The breath of clarity, awakening, and new sight. May the winds of the east clear our minds, so we may see with truth and vision. And invite you to say with me, I honor the temple within. And then to the south, flame of life. Feel a small spark in the center of your chest or your belly. The warmth of passion, purpose, aliveness. May the fire of the south kindle our courage and illuminate the path of right action. And repeat after me, I honor the temple within. And to the west, waters of transformation. Imagine a gentle wave moving through your heart, washing away tension and inviting in compassion. May the waters of the west guide our hearts with tenderness, intuition, and wisdom. And softly say, I honor the temple within. And to the north, bones of the earth. Feel the weight of your body supported by the ground beneath you, solid, ancient, and steady. May the strength of the north root our steps in integrity, in truth, in deep knowing. And softly say, I honor the temple within. And to above, to the starry realms, sense the vastness above you, ancient ones, our cosmic kin, the great remembering. May the blessings of above remind us that we are held, we are guided, and never alone. And softly say, I remember the temple within. And below, to our Blessed Mother, feel the earth rising up to meet you, her heartbeat steady beneath your own. May the pulse of below fill us with harmony, with love and peace. And softly say, I remember the temple within. And to the center, the temple of the soul, where energies collide, the meeting place of all directions, right here in the center, where we remember we are one. Here we return to love and softly say, I remember the temple within. And let's honor ourselves, our breath, our presence, your sacred spark. May we honor the wisdom of our bodies, the whisper of our hearts, and the truth of our becoming. I honor the temple within. Take one deep breath in and exhale. Filling our group here online, woven together in remembering. And now we begin. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to just take a sip and ground. I feel so good. So good. All right. So it is time for her story. And now that we've cast her circle, I invite you to soften, to sit back and just simply be. Take this moment, let yourself journal, rest. Um, and when you want to write, or if you just want to simply listen, listen. But I invite you to listen not only with your ears, but listen with your heart, listen with your soul, listen and feel with your body. And the body that carries centuries of memories, lineage of remembering here. So this isn't about doing, it's about being. And I don't know if you hear my two dogs, they're just they're both sleeping, being and listening. So you might hear them snoring and making a few noises. So that's what's happening. But allow her story to awaken something already alive within you. And remember, take in only what resonates with you, truly. If it doesn't resonate, it wasn't for you, and that's okay. You just forget it. Take what resonates and forget the rest. So just listen to what stirs your own truth, your own calling. That is the gift. You do not need to hold on to every word. It's just like the oral traditions when they used to tell stories around the campfires. We held on to what we needed, and you only need to receive what your heart and soul are ready for. Okay? So what speaks to you may not speak to another person. Each of us walk a unique path, and the story will land differently for each of us. And that is its purpose, and that is its power. So let's just take a deep breath here and exhales. Good. So we are going to begin with the Gospel of Mary. And it's been all inspired actually from the Mary Magdalene Revealed book by Meggan Watterson. And I don't know how it happened, but when I had that conversation that lit that fire within me, and I had the book, and it just felt like this would be a good beginning to start with her gospel. So like I said, I don't know how this what or how this path will look like. But right now we're going to dive into this, and we are going to dive into her, as I will share here in a moment. She has 7 powers that we're going to go through, and after that we'll see who else wants her voice heard. So right now we begin with the Gospel of Mary, and again I'm using a lot of inspiration from Mary Magdalene Revealed by Meggan Watterson. So this is a wonderful book to purchase for yourself, and her oracle card deck. I wish I left it in the yurt, but it's wonderful and I use it often. So it's nice to have as we do this journey together. Okay. And so the beginning, the Gospel of Mary is called an ascent narrative, but the journey is described is not upward in a way, it is a descent into the heart. Farther up is farther in. So to find Mary's voice is to find our own. And my hope is that in hearing these forgotten stories, you will recognize the voice of your own soul. In her book, she mentions T.S. Eliot in the quote, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and to know the place for the first time. This is not about becoming someone better. It's about seeing what has always been there. It's about living so deeply present, and so that we no longer get lost in the endless stories of the ego, the ones that divide us from each other, from ourselves, and from the divine. And in that recognition, we save ourselves from the self that was never real. And we begin to see with the eye of the heart. And that is the beginning, the eye of the heart. And again, from this beautiful book, Mary Magdalene Revealed. Just love, love, love. I have gone through it many times, highlighted, starred, hearted, pages folded over. Well, also, that is my dyslexic brain for me, for energy or towards to fully land. So I really have to go over it over and over and over again. And so if you do, you will hear me struggle with my words. That's just how my brain works. So I appreciate your patience and your kindness and compassion. So the eye of the heart. So in Mary's gospel, um, it's not about dogma, but it's about remembering, a remembering of what has been silenced, hidden, and yet has survived in whispers and fragments. So the Gospel of Mary is an ancient text, thousands of years old. I think it was nearly 2,000 years old, but it's been a long time. And what survives of this text is incomplete. And the most complete copy we have is a Coptic manuscript from the 5th century. The first 6 pages are missing, and another 4 pages in the middle are gone. So her gospel begins on page 7, which I find is interesting because number 7, energetically, numerology wise, or for me, it represents spiritual awakening. There are no accidents, I'm telling you. Uh, they also have 2 Greek fragments, but they preserve only small portions. Altogether, it's like holding pieces of a much larger tapestry. And this is part of the mystery. The pages were most likely torn out, hidden, or even destroyed around 300 years after the gospel was written. When church leaders tried to suppress the text that didn't fit the version of truth they wanted to preserve, of course. So Mary's voice reaches us only in fragments. But even in what survives, there is a power, a presence that cannot be erased. Now, when it comes to Mary Magdalene herself, there are many, many stories. Some are rooted in history, others arise from legend, folklore, mystical imagination. In France, traditions say she fled there after crucifixion and carried on her teachings. Um, in esoteric writings, she is remembered, and I hope I didn't butcher that, esoteric. There you are. We'll just flow with it. Um, in those writings, she is remembered as the sacred partner of Jesus, even the mother of his children. I'm sure many of you heard those stories. There is that movie with Tom Hanks, and I think there's something about that. I can't remember the movie. Something angels? Oh, Lord. Anyways, there's other traditions that have connected her to dragons, symbols of feminine power and ancient wisdom. In the highlands of Ethiopia, her story is said to have never been forgotten. I love that. An African legacy that honors her not as a figure of shame, but as a woman of power, of wisdom and divine calling. So perhaps Ethiopia has been holding her true story all along. I love I love that little nugget because my youngest was adopted from Ethiopia, so Ethiopia holds a very special place in my heart. Just makes sense, of course. So what matters is not deciding which version is factually true. What matters is listening to what these stories awaken in us, because she was always too vast to be contained by one story alone. There are endless versions, endless threads, and maybe that is the point. Mary Magdalene was too vast, too dangerous, and too sacred for one story alone to contain. So our task is not to decide which story is true. Our task is to listen for what awakens truth within us, to let her stories inspire courage, ignite remembering, and return us to the eye of the heart. So let's talk about her gospel. It does not give us a map to God somewhere far away. It points us inward toward the eye of the heart, right here. And when I say the word God, know that I'm not honoring that invisible man in the sky. I'm honoring something divine, a creator energy, spirit, so you can just use whatever words that align with you and your truth. And there's no right or wrong. All right. So, yeah. So it points inward towards the eye of the heart here, the divine here. And because in her gospel, Mary speaks of 7 stages, 7 powers. There's that 7. Spiritual awakening. Here we are. Now you're going to only see 7s now, I'm sure of it. But the 7 powers we must face within ourselves to reach a clarity of heart. All right. I'm going to just take a quick sip here. Hold on. All right. Good. So, a clarity that allows us to see beyond the ego's small stories into what is far more real, more lasting, and more infinite, and always already here within us. It almost feels intentional that her gospel begins on page 7. And what's most striking is not just what's missing, but what those pages once held. Among them was one of the most profound questions Mary ever asked Christ. Lord, does the person who sees a vision see it with the soul or with the spirit? And what remains of this answer is only the beginning. And the answer is a person does not see with the soul or with the spirit, rather, the mind, which exists between the two, sees the vision, and that is what? ... And that's where it's left off. Now, the interesting thing here is, I know you're thinking the mind. This mind? No. So the Greek word translated here as mind is nous, spelt as Nous, but not mind as we think of today, separate from our body and spirit. Nous means eye of the heart, the vision of the soul, the inner light that knows what is real, enduring, and true. If how we truly see is not with our eyes, but through this inner vision, then no one outside of us has power over our truth. So Mary's 7 powers are like a roadmap for the inner journey. They reveal the places where the ego can get stuck, where we might lose our voice, where we forget who we really are. And they also show us the way home, the path of living from the new, this mind, the eye of the heart. I was told recently the longest journey a human would take is about this long. For people who are not watching this on Zoom and listening to it on my podcast, I'm using my hands to show a ruler, like a length of a ruler. And I was told that the longest journey a person would take is probably the length of a ruler. And that's really from the mind down to the heart. That's the longest journey a human will take. So kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It's so true. So, yeah, maybe we'll pause here. This might be a good opportunity to do a little journaling or reflection. Where in your life have you been guided by the eye of the heart? And so the eye of the heart doesn't usually shout, it's subtle. It's a whisper. It's that voice who asked me, what are you going to do about it? When I was agitated and um, frustrated, and I heard that voice, and it was so clear. What are you going to do about it? That is the eye of the heart. And it can show up as calm clarity, sometimes a fire in your belly. Think back to when did you listen to that deeper guidance and what unfolded because of it? And for example, I'll give some examples. It might be a time when you followed your intuition, even when it didn't make logical sense. It could be a decision you made because it felt right in your body, just a deep knowing. You couldn't explain it, but you knew, you felt it. It can be a moment when you forgave someone, not because you had to, but because your heart opened. Um, it could be a relationship or a job or a situation you walked away from because your inner truth told you it was time. The eye of the heart can show up in the way of synchronicities, a sign that confirmed what your soul already knew. It might be a time when you said yes or no, even though your ego was afraid, but your heart just felt like very clear this is happening, despite my feelings of fear. Um, it might be a time you felt connected to something greater than yourself. So maybe just take a moment here if you feel called to and journal a little bit about when your eye of the heart spoke to you. All right. Wonderful. So let's talk about the seven powers and radical love. Let's touch on it briefly before we dive into each power. So we'll touch on the seven powers that Mary speaks of in her gospel. Traditionally, these powers were turned into sins or even labeled demons. Luke, I believe in chapter 8, tells us that Mary herself was said to have had seven demons cast out of her, and later Pope Gregory in the 6th century used this to mark her as sinful. Yeah, thanks, Luke. Honestly. But what if it wasn't about her sinfulness at all? What if it was about her courage? What if these seven powers are not demons to be shamed for, but simply human struggles we all face, and hopefully overcome? So the seven powers are just simply named as darkness, number one, the place where we feel lost, um, or without direction. Craving is the second one, the hunger that can never be satisfied. Number three, ignorance, the forgetting of who we really are. Number four, craving for death. I believe it's tied to gluttony, clinging to what is temporary. Enslavement to the physical body, ignoring the soul. Um, the false peace of the flesh, numbing ourselves instead of facing what is real. And the compulsion of rage when fear drives us instead of love. Mary's teaching is not to fight these powers, but to see them clearly. I see you, I'm looking at you. And when we look at them with the eye of the heart, this eye, um, this is where the hold on us, these powers, the hold of them begins to dissolve, where these are not demons that made her sinful. Yeah, these are not demons that made her sinful. These are powers she faced and overcame. And in that, she became a guide for us. Thank you, Mary. And in Mary's gospel, the seven powers of the ego are not inner obstacles, darkness, craving, ignorance, attachment, false peace, compulsion, and arrogance. They're described as forces we face and release, not as punishment, but as part of being human. Being human. That's about being human. That's why we're here. And then centuries later, the church developed the list of the seven deadly sins: pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. Oh. And these are framed not as natural struggles, but as moral failings that separate us and from God. Some scholars believe that seven powers may have influenced this list, but the difference is in the lens, where Mary's gospel saw them as steps in the soul's journey, steps, but the church reframed them as sins that required control. And of course, in the 6th century, Pope Gregory tied Mary Magdalene herself to sinfulness, declaring she was the woman in Luke's gospel with 7 demons cast out. For many, this became proof of her fallen nature. But what if those 7 demons were simply the 7 powers? Not her shame, but her victory. Her victory. Mary's teachings reframes the human condition. She doesn't tell us to fear or hate the places we get stuck. She says, see them, name them, release them. The church turned them into sins that condemn us. But Mary Magdalene reminds us they are simply thresholds. Each one, when faced with the eye of the heart, leads us closer to freedom. It's important to remember the 7 powers are not a one and done journey. They are companions. We will meet again and again. It's a spiral journey. And each time we meet them with new wisdom. And this is just the beginning, the spiral journey of the soul. And so over the next few recordings, it might take you a day, it might take you months, but we'll explore them one by one, discovering how they live within us and how they can become doorways to deeper freedom and love. So, Mary's radical love, that's what she's all about. After the missing pages, her gospel begins with these words: every nature, every modeled form, every creature exists in and with each other. This is love, a love that renders us all equal, a love that says, I am not separate from you. We exist in and with each other. And if that is true, there is no stranger, no immigrant, no alien, no other. We are connected. And sometimes, as Mary teaches, things fall apart before they can come back together. And sometimes it has to die before it can resurrect. This is the pattern of love, the pattern of life, and the pattern of our souls. So good. So you might want to take a moment and pause here and grab your oracle card deck and just pull a card, drop into your heart, and see what your eye of the heart wants you to know right now after listening to these teachings to the beginning. So you can pause here if you like. All right, wonderful. So let us close our time together by returning to the temple within. Take a deep breath in, filling your lungs with light, and exhale, releasing. Let's do another inhale. Inhale, breathing in, and a soft sigh out. And one more breath, slow and steady, settling deeper into the sacred presence within you. You may want to place your hands on your heart and feel the steady rhythm of your heartbeat. This is your drum. This is your prayer. The pulse that connects you to every soul who has ever lived. every ancestor, and to Mary Magdalene herself. Now imagine a soft golden light glowing in your heart. This is the eye of the heart. See it gently opening like the petals of a rose. Its light spreads through your chest and down into your belly and up into your mind and all the way to the crown of your head. And whisper softly, I see with the eye of the heart. I know with the wisdom of my soul. And I walk in love. And let Mary Magdalene's presence draw near. She is here, not above you, not outside of you, but beside you, within you, woven into your very being. See her placing her hand over yours at your heart, and feel her whisper, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved. And allow this love to expand. Send it through your body, filling every cell. Send it outward to all the souls joining us here in our circle, across the distance, to our ancestors, and to the generations yet to come. And in this moment, there is no separation. We are in and with each other. One body, one love, one remembering. Take another deep breath in and receiving, and exhale as an offering. And now with gratitude, we release the circle of elements. Center and self, we thank you. Below and above, we thank you. North, west, south, and east, we thank you. Go if you must, stay if you will. We release you now with love. And when you feel ready, softly repeat, the circle is open, but never broken. Eye of the heart, guide me home. And if your eyes are closed, gently lift them, carrying this light within you, for the temple goes wherever you go. So good. Now let's take our prayers, our truths, our blessings, ones that reside here in our heart. And actually, let's just for a moment feel the prayers resting inside of you. And on your next breath, I want you to gently blow them out into the world. To all the souls who cannot join us here, to our families, to our communities, to all those who are in need of love, of healing, and remembrance. And may these prayers travel where they are needed most, and may they ripple outward in love. Eye of the heart, guide us. Voice of the soul, rise in us. And may she be remembered. So be it, and so it is. Thank you for joining me, beautiful souls, and I'll see you at the next temple of remembering. Blessed be.